pencils. So I'm going to try it. Well, then I'd have to hold it and I don't know how to keep my hands still. Actually, I forgot. This will be fine. Can you hear me? Yeah. We're good. Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I tell you, I was so honored when Carol called me, and I think like Ashley, obviously no one tells Carol no. So when she gave me the call, I think it was in late February, I thought, to be able to come back to Cedar Rapids, my sons and I have 3 sons, and we lived here in the early 90s. And we'd gone through a rough period in our life, and it felt like God had just brought us here and planted us in a community that offered us so much support and love and encouragement and just embraced us in a manner that I had not experienced in the past. And I tell you, for me, what I learned and what I felt the culture of this area was your core values were faith, family, and friends. And so for the 2.5 years that we lived here, I felt like we flourished and we grew, and my sons and I still talk about it. And Cedar Rapids will always, my memories here will always hold a special place in my heart. So thank you, Cedar Rapids, and thank you, sisters, today. So let's give ourselves a hand. When Carol explained to me today's event and what caused her to create it, I was so impressed and in awe that this is somebody who could take their pain and their loss and use it in a way to empower and to help others. I so respect that. And I know we've already given Carol a hand, but I think we should give Carol and everyone who helps her a hand. Experience this. And so I told her, don't limit God. Let him have his way here. And so as I speak to you today, my purpose today is really just to share one word. Push. And I tell you, and the reason I'm here today is because there's someone here today in this room who has a dream. Someone in this room has a dream of doing something they've never done before. The dream may seem out of the realm of possibilities, so it's lying dormant. I believe there's someone in this room today who has the potential to change the world, but you're refusing to tap into your gifts to begin the change. I believe there's someone here today who needs to hear this message. And so I want to speak to anyone who is sitting on unfulfilled dreams. Anyone who believes they have the power to make a difference, but every day you get up and find an excuse to do nothing. My purpose here today, again, is to just tell you about push. I tell you, I used this topic several years ago at a women's conference, and I did the physical push to the point where I felt like I had to go home and get a sedative. I was so sore in my shoulders, so I'm trying to restrain myself. But when we talk about a push for me, is my motto. And I want you to take the time we have right now together to encourage all of you dreamers and all of you world changers, to believe in your power, to push. Push is my motto. It's an acronym I use in my life and in my coaching and mentoring business. I know a lot of you probably associate the word push or the acronym push with pray until something happens. I'm a strong believer in the power of prayer. Yes. But I'm sorry, I believe if you don't get up off your knees and start moving in the direction of what you've been praying for, your prayers are just words blowing in the wind. So let's talk about my push. This acronym stands for Persevere until something happens. What does it mean to persevere? All right. What does it mean to persevere until something happens? It means that you will remain committed to your purpose, to your dream, to your goals, in spite of all the difficulties, all the obstacles, and any discouragement that may come your way, up to the time that your goal, your dream has been achieved, or you've seen the reality of it. When I speak of push, it's also a metaphor that I use that symbolizes the effort that's required to stay committed to your purpose and to your dreams until you've seen the reality. To persevere until something happens requires you to be a bold and determined risk taker, someone who's able to maintain a relentless focus on their goals. I know for a fact perseverance isn't easy, and that's why so many of your dreams are lying dormant and why you haven't used your talent to change the world. And do you know what the greatest threat is to realizing your dreams and making a difference? Do you understand why you haven't started that business? Why you haven't written that book? Why you haven't stepped out and done something that makes a difference in the world? It's your perceived limitations. Let me explain. A perceived limitation is a perception of the consequences that might be caused by unconscious barriers that you've set. And these barriers, more than likely, have happened either because of past experience, some naysayer has spoken into your spirit and broken it, or it can even be by the conditions of our society. But no matter where they come from, when you dwell on the perceived limitations and the barriers long enough, they become formidable enough to stop you from moving forward. I have a 15-year-old granddaughter. Ever since she was about 5 years old, she said, "Nana, I'm going to cure cancer." And she said it, she's never faltered. She started going to school, she started writing reports. I've taken her to some cancer centers, we've taken her to some universities so she can see what the doctors do. But she started writing reports for school. Several teachers said, "Honey, if it hasn't been solved by now, I don't think you're going to do it." So this year on her birthday, I gave her a sign that said, I found this beautiful thing at Hobby Lobby that said, "Someday I'm going to change the world." And I crossed out someday and put today. And she said to me, "Nana, I already know I can't cure cancer." I said, "Don't you believe that, baby?" Because see, somebody planted something in her spirit and told her she couldn't do it, but it's a lie. And so I let her know every day. I told her, "I want that sign hung up in your room. And I want you to tell me how you're going to change the world." And the sad part about it is perceived limitations really aren't real. They're things that we sense or we interpret as roadblocks that prevent us from getting to our destiny. They are the mental messages that we send to our brain or that we allow others to plant in our brain and in our thoughts. Then they stop and delay our ability to advance. I tell people that I coach out all the time, get out of your head. Get out of your head. It's a messy place. I mean, you consider all the messages that go into your head over the course of a day. You know, you get on the news and you hear our president saying crazy things. Oh, I apologize for anybody who likes what he says. But I mean, you think about it, when it's flu season, okay, make sure you get your flu shot because you automatically assume, oh, I heard that, I'm going to get sick. You can't do this. Did you know why you can't do this? Everything is telling you what you cannot do. It's a messy place giving you messages that come to destroy your confidence and hinder your progress. We all face them. At some time or another, we've said, I want that job, but I was told I don't have the right experience, so I guess I just won't go for it. I could change the world, but I don't have a college education. I'm black, I'm white, I'm Hispanic, I'm gay, I'm disabled. I'd start that business, but I don't have enough money. Or how about this? Girl, it's too late and I'm too old. There are so many more that you've either said or you've heard. And you know what? They're all based on the perception that's based on fear. And what is fear? It's an acronym that stands for false evidence appearing real. And in the long run, they're all just excuses. But again, if you dwell on them long enough, they'll become your formidable opponent, filling your mind with perceived limitations that if you don't push back, they'll become your reality. So when I say push, I don't mean exerting a lot of physical energy, even though I believe sometimes it takes that, depending on how deep in the trenches you are. When I say push, I'm referring to transforming your thinking to create a new reality outside of the perceptions that are blocking you. Pushing through perceived limitations is truly mental warfare that will move you outside the realm of your ability into a place that is going to require more of you than you believe you have. You will have to push through these perceived limitations to unlock your potential, to start that business, to go back to college, to write the book, to get on stage and sing or speak, to use your gifts to make a difference in the world. I'd like to briefly take a little time to share my push story with you, if you don't mind, and how this came to me. In the spring of 2007, God spoke to me to write this book. My mother had passed away, and I found a box full of information of things that I knew nothing of. And so it was marinating in my spirit, but I knew I needed to do something about it, but I didn't really know what to do. Of course, you have to read the book to know what I'm talking about. Okay. But he spoke to me to write the book, and my initial response was really amazement, because guess what? I know how to write a book. I have written journals for over 30 years, probably longer than that, but I didn't know how to write a book. But the first thing I did was I started telling people, I'm going to write a book. And I added author Carolyn Brooks to my tagline on my emails. I hadn't written a word. But I was speaking it into existence because I heard a young lady called Ashley tell me to do that. And that's exactly what I did. And so I started talking about it, and I started believing it. And then I said, I got to do it. I believed it. I wanted to be obedient to what I believed God was telling me to do. Well, then I spent about 5 months trying to find somebody to write the book for me. I'm telling you, I stopped a lady on an airplane because I heard her talking about writing the book, and I asked her, could she help me? I actually overheard her talking, and she referred me to some ghostwriters, and I talked to some ghostwriters. I talked to people who had written books. I got ripped off by several charlatans, and I got my feelings hurt by doubters. But then, on Labor Day, 2007, around 3:30, 4 in the morning, I was awakened from a deep sleep, and I heard, you write the book. And I sat up and thought, okay, where did that come from? And I'm serious, because I don't know if you've ever heard God speak to you, but it sounds like he's right there in the room. And I said, okay, and I looked around, my husband was out of town, so I was in bed by myself, and I'm thinking, I don't know where that came from. And then I laid in bed, and I could hear it again. And this time I laughed. I said, I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to begin to write a book. And I kept praying, send me the resources so I could get it done, because I wanted to be obedient. Well, I laughed, and then I tossed and turned, and then I said, you know what? I got up, and I went into my home office, and I started writing that book. For the next year and a half, I spent some part of every day painstakingly writing the book. My husband and I took a cruise during that time, and we were loading our luggage, and he's putting stuff in the car, ready to go to the airport. He goes, I know you're not taking your laptop. I'm like, baby, come on, I have to take it. Because if I get an idea, if I get inspired, I gotta write it. So we went on a cruise, and I'm sitting out on our, whatever, the balcony, and I'm typing, look at the beautiful ocean, but I'm typing. And then I was saying, when I thought I had done all I could do, I was very satisfied with my finished product. I was proud of myself. I'm serious. My chest was way out there. I thought I had written a masterpiece. So then I began to look for someone to help me. I said, I need somebody who can read it for me and give me feedback. And I need someone who can edit it for me and then tell me how I get from, okay, the written book to a published book. Talked to some people and they gave me the name of a woman who had written several books and had background in editing. And she agreed that she would read the book for me. So I sent off my masterpiece. I emailed it to her. Took her about a month to get back to me. When she did, she invited me to her house. She had me sit down. She brought out some coffee and stuff, and she went to the back room, and she comes out with this box. It's 8.5 by 11. I don't know if you know, kind of what print paper comes in. And it was filled with my manuscript. And she brought it in, she threw it on the table, and she goes, you wrote a book. So what? What's the point? Pierced my heart. All the work I had done, you're saying I wrote a book, so what? What's the point? We spent the rest of the afternoon going through, we did some mind mapping. That book, by the way, was 577 pages. Of this size, so you can imagine how big it would have been in a book. Anyway, but we went through some mind mapping, and she took some of the themes of the book. And one of the things she told me was, it's a very linear story with a lot of details and no point. I was like, oh, I thought it was pretty good. So we talked, and she, like I said, by the time we got done talking, and she'd done some mind mapping with me and helped me understand, she said, she handed me back the box with the, 577 pages. And her encouragement to me was, rewrite the book. And she goes, and focus on a message.
Yeah.
And then she said, and oh, by the way, change the title. So basically, this title is not the title it started with. The only encouraging thing she did say to me was, I want you to know this though, you definitely have the skills to be a writer. So I thought, okay, well that's one thing. Well, then she added, I know people have taken over 10 years to write a book, and I'm like, oh no, I don't have time for all that. And I was convinced that wasn't going to be me anyway, so I didn't worry about it. When I got in my car, I was angry, I was frustrated, I was devastated. I had taken 18 months out of my life, and all you can say is you wrote a book, so what? I got in my car, and I do what I always do when I feel like people are coming against me. I said, that's okay. One of these days, she's going to know my name. When I got home that night, I took that box out of my car, I took it in the office, put it on a shelf, and I forgot about it for a couple of months. I was devastated. I mean, here I am, I'm dealing with the hurt, my prior effort hadn't been good enough, and she's telling me to rewrite it. I didn't know how. I didn't know how I could do it that would be any better than what I'd done. But then I finally humbled myself, and I went back to the originator of my assignment, and I asked for guidance, and I waited. He gave me one word. You know what that was? Push. With that single word, I began to conjure up an image. And it wasn't about praying until something happened. The image that came to me, believe it or not, was the words that a woman in childbirth hears. Push! Yeah. Come on now, push! One more time, Carolyn, push! That's what that's the thought that came to me. I knew he was telling me I had to persevere until I had told the story of my life that he told me to write. That one word became the theme of my book. And that book became the child that I knew I had to push out into the world. That was what I had to do, and I knew I couldn't stop until I'd done it. Then on Labor Day, exactly 9 years from the time he told me to write the book, Labor Day 2016, I finally pushed out the child. I celebrated with great joy the completion of an assignment that I never thought I knew how to do. Now I'm committed to stop, and I will not stop, until I find the stage for this book. Because see, I believe this book's going to be a movie. And I'm going to keep on speaking it until it becomes reality. But I believe he wanted me, through this book, to tell the story of how I had to push through parental abandonment and rejection. I had to push through a childhood where I was called a bastard and told I wasn't qualified to go to heaven.
Wow.
I had to push through the dark color of my skin that affected people and how they treated me, even within my own family. I had to push through spousal abuse, rape, bankruptcy, divorce. I had to push through my fears of being a single parent, raising 3 little boys by myself, and trusting God to guide me. I had to push through my fear of rejection to learn to love and trust again, so I could experience true love through my husband, Jimmy Brooks. You'll never know I say I had to push through racism and sexism and other corporate injustices to be the first woman and the first African American to sit in the C-suite of the Fortune 500 company that I worked for, even though I didn't have a college education. You see, I was stretched to discover my resiliency, challenged to build new levels of faith, and broken to learn where my strength comes from. I had to push through my perceived limitations because, you see, God created me with this story inside of me.
Amen.
And every day, every life experience became a chapter in this book for a purpose that's greater than me. I just want to tell you a quick story about that butterfly, because this butterfly has a purpose too, and then I'll wrap this up. The butterfly is born with a purpose inside of it, just like all of us are. It goes through 4 stages. It's the life cycle. 4 stages in its life cycle, and each stage has a different purpose. Stage 1 is the egg. Its purpose is to produce the caterpillar. Stage 2 is the caterpillar, and its only purpose is to eat and grow.
Right.
That's all it does. And thankfully, it's probably not a very long period of time. But it's growing in preparation for its transformation. Stage 3. This is Carol's stage, the chrysalis. This creates the changing stage, where the caterpillar stops eating, stops growing, and begins its radical metamorphosis. The caterpillar literally digests itself, and any parts of its body that's not necessary to move into the final stage. And then stage 4, we all know that, the beautiful butterfly. But the butterfly emerges from the chrysalis, but its wings are too soft to allow it to fly. Now what? The butterfly doesn't stop. The butterfly doesn't say, now what am I going to do? No, that butterfly begins to use the power that was placed within it from the beginning of creation. And it begins to push blood into its wings to get them working. And for the next 3 to 4 hours, that's all it does is push that blood, flap those wings, so it can use its wings to fly and start the life cycle all over again. From the egg to the caterpillar to the cocoon, to the chrysalis, to the butterfly. These insects, these beautiful insects, instinctively know they have to push through every stage to get from where they are to where they're going to fulfill their purpose. The butterfly understands how to persevere so it can survive to carry out its purpose and continue the life cycle it was created for. That's the God-given instinct all of us are born with. So as I stand before you today and encourage you to believe in your power to push, I'm telling you, tap into the power within you, unwilling to let any perceived limitation stop you. It doesn't matter if you're scared. It doesn't matter what your race or ethnic background is. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, able, or disabled. It doesn't matter if you're 8 or 88. It doesn't matter if you have a GED or a PhD. It doesn't matter. You have to push. Push is the metamorphosis of your thinking. It's the force that will move you from your current state into the unlimited realm of your possibilities. Listen, when you believe in your power to push, you'll unleash the unlimited power that's been bestowed on you to push life into your wings and fly. When you believe in your power to push, you won't set any limitations on your abilities or place any credence on what someone might tell you you can't do. When you believe in your power to push, your fears will be replaced by bold faith. When you believe in your power to push, when a door opens, you will hold your head erect and command all men's respect and walk through that door. And when there is no door, you'll have the vision to create one. When you believe in your power to push, you'll never allow anyone to define you, diminish you, or limit you. When you believe in your power to push, you'll stop making excuses, and you'll allow your gifts to come in touch with the opportunities and watch the magic happen. You'll be like that butterfly. You'll embrace every stage you're going through, knowing each stage has its purpose. I promise you. When you believe in your power to push, you will be willing to risk everything to fulfill your destiny and live out your dreams that have been lying dormant. Ladies, I'm telling you, this is your time to push! Now I need everybody in this room, would you please stand up? And I'm gonna let you go, but I just need you to prove something to yourself. I want you to take one foot and put it in front of the other, like you're getting ready to walk somewhere. And I want you to repeat after me. I believe in my power